Isai, let's roll. Let's do it. Uvda Dchol. Complicated. Yeah, we're gonna have some fun. Complicated sugya a little bit. The Gedarim aren't so clear cut, or they weren't so clear cut before we started. But in another 40 minutes or so, it's gonna be very clear. All right, hopefully, we'll see. Okay, so let's do it. So what is Uvda Dchol? So Uvda Dchol is an issur d'Rabbanan Medine HaGemara. It's something that if you were, according to Chayei Adam, if you are over Uvda Dchol, you would get Malchus Mardis. So it's a real deal issur d'Rabbanan. There's something else which is called not Shabbosdik. Not Shabbosdik is what your mother says when she doesn't want you to do something. Now, but a little bit more than that. Not Shabbosdik is something that is mutter intrinsically, but it's better not to do because it's not a kavod for Shabbos. But it's not b'chlal issur d'Rabbanan if something is, quote, not Shabbosdik. So there's Uvda Dchol, issur d'Rabbanan, and then there's not Shabbosdik, which might be a lack of kavod for the Shabbos. Now this not Shabbosdik is very dependent on each person's individual viewpoint, what they view as being a kavod for Shabbos. For one person's not Shabbosdik, for somebody else that could be Shabbosdik. It's not an intrinsic thing. What is Shabbosdik? It's what is in your personally or you're in circles deemed as a kavod for Shabbos. Whereas Uvda Dchol is an actual issur d'Rabbanan, which even if you might think that this act is kavodik for Shabbos, that doesn't mean it's not an issur of Uvda Dchol. So let's understand what exactly the difference is. Here we go. Fine. And I would also just want to adding that some action which maybe you might view as for you Shabbosdik, but if it's something that the world views as not Shabbosdik and you do it in public, so then you're often going to be getting into Zilzal Shabbos issues as well. So once again, that's not the focus of this share. I'm not going to get so involved. But even something that you view as it's not a lack of kavod, if the world views it as a lack of kavod and it's in a public atmosphere, a public domain, people are seeing it, then there could be Zilzal Shabbos issues. Okay. Now, what does Uvda Dchol mean? You're doing something that's weekday, Dick. Well, I sit on a chair during the week. I learn Gemara during the week. So that means I can't sit on a chair on Shabbos. And I can't learn Gemara on Shabbos. It's Uvda Dchol. It's what you do during the week. So it obviously can't be that gathered. There has to be something more specific than it's just something that you do during the week. So the clearest Gedarim that I found in Uvda Dchol comes from the Tiferes Yisrael on Mishnayos. So he has a sefer on Shabbos, Kilkelis Shabbos, and he says that there are three different types of Uvda Dchol. The first type of Uvda Dchol is something that will bring you to Chil Shabbos. It's intrinsically not a Chil Shabbos what you're doing, but by doing that action, it will bring you to Chil Shabbos, which is actually something that we see isurim like this all the time. We usually don't call it Uvda Dchol, though, but we'll see in a sec. The second category is something that looks like Chil Shabbos. It resembles Chil Shabbos. And once again, we'll get into that in a minute. And the third category is something that has tircha yisera, has a lot of effort. You need a lot of energy involved. That will also be Uvda Dchol. Let's go through each one of these categories with some examples to clarify. So the first case, which we said, was something that will lead you to issur. So the Magen Avram says this is in Hilchos Yontif, that in Hilchos Yontif you could chop wood because you should be able to chop wood to be used for fire, for cooking, or something like that. That would be allowed on Yontif to cook, right? So the Magen Avram says you can't chop wood on Yontif because even if you're doing it into large pieces, you're going to come to do it into small pieces. And chopping wood into small pieces is the issur teichin. So even by cutting it into large pieces is not the issur teichin. You're not allowed to cut into large pieces because you may come to cut into small pieces. Cutting into large pieces is the issur of Uvda Dchol. That's what the Magen Avram says. Okay? Once again, it's not what we usually don't use that term of Uvda Dchol on that type of action, but the Magen Avram does, and that's one example. Another example is there is obviously an issur to filter on Shabbos from something that's not drinkable to make it drinkable. You take a not drinkable drink and you pour it through a filter and it comes out drinkable drink. That's bayr, Moroccan, whatever. I'm just going to call it bayr for simple. So if you take a drinkable drink and you pour it on, let's say, through a cloth, not a specialized bayr utensil, and comes out a drinkable drink which is finer, that is mutter on Shabbos. A lot of people are surprised by that. But let's say you have a cloth and it's really drinkable, and you pour it through, but now it becomes finer. It takes some of the little schmutz out, and whatever comes out of the other side of the cloth, that is not bayr, because you went from drinkable to drinkable. It's not bayr. If you've taken that cloth and you want to make a little indentation, and to make it's easier to pour into the cloth, the filter, by making a little indentation. So that would be an issur of Uvda Dchol, because once you start with the little indentation, you're going to end up using a proper filter. And if you end up using a proper filter, that would actually be an issur bayr to use a proper filter. So therefore, you're going from mutter, and it's going to lead you to doing something that's asur. The place can call that Uvda Dchol. Okay, that's the first category. We are very familiar with these types of issurim, something that's going to lead to issurim. We just usually, most of the time, don't call it Uvda Dchol. I can't answer you exactly why these examples are called by the Paiskim Uvda Dchol. Okay, second category. This is going to be the biggest category, which is things that resemble Chil Shabbos. What's an example? So we have an example from a Gemara. You are not allowed to gather fruit from outdoors, from the field, not under a tree, not where it grew. Your box of apples spilled out in the bungalow colony, in the grass, and you have 20 apples that go everywhere. You're not allowed to go and collect them all and put them in the box on Shabbos. Why? It didn't grow there. If it would have grown there and you picked them from the tree, that's the issur d'oraisa ma'amer, to gather fruit that grew from the tree. Over here, there's no tree here. You're not allowed to gather that fruit, in the first Gemara, because it's Uvda Dchol. It resembles the issur of ma'amer. Now, to be clear, this isn't marasayin, because we're talking about a case, there's no tree around. It doesn't know, you have to be a pretty big idiot to think or you don't know what ma'amer is. Because if there's no tree, nobody thinks you're gathering what fell from the tree without a tree. Right? So it's not marasayin. We know that you didn't do the issur ma'amer, but your action of picking up apples off the ground resembles ma'amer, and that's Uvda Dchol. Which is pretty, and it's brought down in the Shulchan Aruch. This is halacha l'maisa. The Rivash says it's Uvda Dchol to grate cheese on Shabbos. Now, there's a issur called toichen, which is taking something and cutting it up into small pieces. However, toichen only applies to what we call gedulei karka, something that grows from the ground. Cheese doesn't grow from the ground, so there's no toichen on cheese. But Dr. Rivash, using a grater, to grate the cheese, that's Uvda Dchol. It resembles the act of grating. And Shlomo Zalman says, based on this Rivash, to use a potato masher, the sticks with the thing smashed down to make them the mashed potatoes. So using a potato masher to mash the eggs on Shabbos morning, Minig Yisrael, eggs, not scrambled eggs, chopped eggs on Shabbos. So you want to use the potato masher to do it. Zakt Shlomo Zalman, Uvda Dchol. Yes, you're right that eggs are not gedulei karka, and there's no toichen on eggs, but using a potato masher to smash those eggs, that would be Uvda Dchol. That's what Shlomo Zalman says. And really, it's the same din as the Rivash. However, in contrast, let's say we use an egg slicer, and you slice the eggs this way, and then you put the egg the other way, and you slice it that way, and you put a little bit of an angle, and you slice it again. You cut the eggs into 100 little pieces with the egg slicer. That would not be Uvda Dchol. Why? Because it's an egg slicer, and eggs don't have toichen. So it doesn't resemble toichen if you're using an egg slicer. Egg slicer is not something that you use. It's not a kli toichen. But if you're going to use a grater, or you're going to use a potato masher without getting involved in the machlokes or Moshe Chazon Ish, if that's what you're thinking, Bensy. But without getting involved in that, I saw it on your face. So without getting involved in the machlokes or Moshe Chazon Ish about mashing, we're going to call that, Rosh Zalman obviously held that it is a kli toichen, and the masher is a problem, the egg slicer is not a problem. Okay. The Ktsois HaShulchan says you can't use a lemon squeezer to, I don't know what exactly a lemon squeezer, I think I know what it is. Whatever. You can't use a lemon squeezer it didn't sound like a lemon juice. I don't know, whatever. You can't use the lemon squeezer to squeeze the lemon onto fish. So it's not a juicer. It's not a juicer. Because it's something that you use to squeeze it onto the fish.
It smashes the lemon into the fish.
Yeah, I've seen it before. And then it drips out onto something. Yeah. So some of the Americans don't like getting their hands dirty. So
we get the bait to difference.
So Zak the Ktsois HaShulchan Rav Chaim Nah. And by the way, you can think there's a new Feinschmecker thing. Rav Chaim Nah must have said this 60 years ago, right? So he says so it's not a new thing, the lemon squeezer. So the Ktsois HaShulchan Rav Chaim Nah says you can't go and squeeze the lemon even onto fish, which you're allowed to squeeze lemon onto solids. You're not allowed to squeeze lemon onto liquids on Shabbos. So you can't go and squeeze the lemon onto the fish because with the lemon squeezer, because it's Uvda Dchol. Now I have a little problem with this Ktsois HaShulchan because it's not a problem. It could be the Metzias was back in the day by him. That's how it was. I think in my Metzias, I will more often squeeze lemon onto solids than liquids. Meaning if the standard of squeezing lemon is on liquids, and now I'm going away from the standard and doing it on solids, then I'm asking it's Uvda Dchol. But if you just as much squeeze it on solids as liquids, then I can't call it a maisa. It's not like you're doing a maisa issur in a heterotica form. I don't even think it's a maisa issur. But that is what the debate. I don't know the Metzias. In my house, it's definitely more common to squeeze lemon onto fish and onto salad than anything else. What do people do? Tea? Or salad dressings? Lemonade? You can actually make lemonade? Huh? Lemon juice? I'm saying that's what people make the most? I'm not talking about the world at large. I'm talking about normal people's houses. I don't know what in factories. I'm not talking about factories. Yeah, I'm saying in factories they don't use the handheld lemon squeezer. You know what I'm saying? Maybe. I don't know. Okay. So I don't know what the Metzias is. In my personal Metzias, I wouldn't say it's Uvda Dchol, but I don't know enough of the world Metzias on lemon squeezers. I happen not to have a lemon squeezer, but I have seen them before. Okay. Weiter. So, some places can say that using a Shabbos elevator is an issur of Uvda Dchol. It resembles issur. Now, I personally think this psak is outdated. I'm asking the first guy who made a Shabbos elevator, and somebody wanted to go and you walk into that Shabbos elevator, and everybody's looking like, did he just go in an elevator? No, it's a new Shabbos thing, huh? Yeah, that was Uvda Dchol. That resembles issur. Might be Zilzal Shabbos also. The first guy. But I think that this psak, that it's Uvda Dchol, is outdated. Because think about it. You see a guy show up. He doesn't press a button. And he's waiting there, twiddling his thumbs. When is this thing going to come already? It's been 15 minutes, 20 minutes, yeah, waiting. And then it finally comes, and he walks in, and the door stays open. And then all of a sudden it starts beeping and beeping and beeping. Does that look to anybody here like weekday? No. It looks totally different. It looks like the guy is going into a Shabbos elevator. I said this to somebody, and he says, no, it still might look like he's going into a Summit elevator. I'm not getting involved in politics. I don't know politics, halacha, I'm not sure. I don't ever actually listen to it on a Metzias level. But without that taina, putting that taina aside, putting putting that taina aside, because I didn't look into the real difference between the Halperin elevators and Soman elevators, etc. So it doesn't look like issur. Huh?
Time switch.
So we'll see. We'll talk about it maybe soon. The time switch, but this l'chayra is not Uvda Dchol. There are still some of those, in my opinion, poskim svarim that like chumras and get a shmak out of chumras and get a shmak out of the asering things. They're still quoting all the poskim from 30 years ago who said it's Uvda Dchol, but I think they're wrong. That's what I think. That's what I think. Okay, now, weiter. The Chazon Ish says that using an umbrella on Shabbos is Uvda Dchol. It looks like oil. This is going to be a little bit hard for saying. Now, we know, obviously we're from. We don't use umbrellas, we're from. Why not? It's boina. What? You have to open it and close it. You ever open a folding table, a folding chair, a folding crib thing, playpen? Well, it's different. Why? I don't know. So, really, it's not baina, because it's meant to open and close, even more often than all those other items that I just mentioned. So, it's not baina. Oh, but it's oil! Well, probably not. It's being held by a person. Then the pashtus is, oil that's held by a person is not an oil. There is a little debate on something that's designed to be held by a person as oil, so there is a little debate, but the pashtus is that it shouldn't be oil. So at the Chazon Ish, it resembles oil. Now, once again, if we're going with the side that it's not an oil, then when you hold it, how does it really resemble oil? It's also hard to say. But there is some historical background to umbrellas, which I think this will explain a little bit why we had to find the issur for this one. There was apparently, I don't know if I have the clear Metzias history correct, but how I remember the history is that the Reform, originally, one of their first pritzes geder that the Reform made was that they went and they carried umbrellas on Shabbos, even without an Erev. Would Hashem want us to get wet on Shabbos? Obviously not. And they carried umbrellas on Shabbos, and that was what the Reform originally did. And the Chassam Sofer made a takana against, even if you have an Erev, no umbrellas. We're separating ourselves from the Reform, and we don't use umbrellas. And now the poskim later on need to find somewhere to, fit it in, so to speak, that umbrellas are also, and the mitzvah were from people who, our fathers didn't use umbrellas, our grandparents didn't use umbrellas, our great-grandparents didn't use umbrellas, and we didn't use umbrellas. And that's really how we end. And don't be that guy who says, I heard her share this study, and you really could. I didn't say you could, I said you can't. Okay, good. Okay, weiter. You gotta be careful with those guys, you know what I mean? You could stop listening if you're one of those. All right, fine. Weiter. Okay, now, I heard an interesting question. Can somebody use a peeler to peel chocolate onto like a dessert on Shabbos? Take the chocolate, use a peeler, peel on. It looks all nice and whatever. So does that resemble bayrer? Well, first of all, it's not so pashut that a peeler is even assur. There are those places that say peelers are assur. The other places that say it's just a glorified knife. But even if you're going to say that a peeler is assur, it doesn't resemble bayrer. This is min echad. L'chayr, it doesn't resemble bayrer. And if we're going to do this one step removed, and all of a sudden everything that is, it's ain't teichen achar teichen, but it resembles teichen. It's not gedulei karka, but it resembles. If we do it on every last thing, ein l'dor seif. So we're going to take the ones that Chazal told us about, we're going to take the ones the poskim told us about, and we're not going to start making up our own. We have enough isurim on Shabbos. We don't need more. Please keep what we have.
So what about the umbrella?
So the umbrella, but that's already hashkafik. That was a hashkafik takana against the Reform, and the middle of that we have to fit in an halacha. But it's not coming from I want to find the chumrah. That's coming from we need this chumrah to separate ourselves from the Reform, and it became minig Yisrael already. Okay. Next, there Bisman Gemara. There was some type of scratcher. I don't know exactly what it was, but it was mostly done. You use this scratcher mostly for refuah, but there also was a purpose of doing it for oinig, for enjoyment. So the mother of Shmuel had a special silver scratcher that she used for Shabbos. She was scratching for oinig, not for refuah on Shabbos. She was scratching for oinig, and she had some special type of scratcher. So, fine. So, why did she have this special scratcher? What was the reason? It was because the regular scratcher was Uvda Dchol, to use that scratcher. So she had this special scratcher for Yantif. So, what does that mean? So it seems seemingly the regular scratcher was a issur type of thing to use, meaning it's something that you use for refuah. Refuah, you're not allowed to do refuah on Shabbos unless you're a chayla that qualifies. But if you're not a qualifying chayla, then you're not allowed to just do refuah. So since the standard scratcher was used for refuah, she needed a specialized scratcher which wasn't for refuah. Now, does it have to be just different, this scratcher? Or does it have to be like, hers was silver, does it have to be special? So the Mogan Avram says it just needs to be different. It doesn't need to be special. Whereas the Maimon Mordechai says it has to be special. Lav dafka silver, but it has to be something miyuchet for Shabbos, something nice. Now, a similar sugya to that is, I've heard about this in a shiur, I read about it, I never actually saw this, so I don't know exactly how. Apparently there's some type of brush that some women use on Shabbos, which is very soft bristles, and it doesn't rip out the hair. Now, I'm not familiar with the Metzias Shabbai of this, but I heard about this specialized brush, and it's a specialized brush for Shabbos. It's a Shabbos brush with these very soft bristles. And she's not using it during the week, because, first of all, I'm a little suspicious, I'm not sure if I believe, I'm a little skeptical on the Metzias, that this brush, which I haven't seen before, doesn't pull out hair. But if it's true that the brush doesn't pull out hair, it probably doesn't work so well. So I'm imagining they're not going to use it during the week anyways. But if it's true, this Metzias, then once again, this would be something, the standard brush is something that rips out hair. So the standard brush you wouldn't be allowed to use on Shabbos, even if you could, figure out a way to not use it, not rip out hair, it would be Uvda Dchol. But this specialized brush, assuming that the Metzias actually exists, this specialized brush, now that wouldn't be Uvda Dchol. Very geschmack. Everybody knows from Moshe Feinstein, right? You guys know the Shabbos toothbrush. So, of course, yes. I grew up learning that you need a Shabbos toothbrush. Moshe says you need a Shabbos toothbrush. So I was listening to a shiur sometime back on Hachana from Rabbi Callis, and he was reading through this Rav Moshe. He's like, what? The Rav Moshe doesn't say that you need a Shabbos toothbrush. That's not what it means. People have misread that Rav Moshe. Rav Moshe says in it, and so then I just looked it up today again. It's I wrote down where it was. It's in Or Chaim Chelik Aleph. Where is it? Kuf Yud Beis, I think it is. Yeah, Kuf Yud Beis. Moshe says, and you use a brush that's miyuchet for this. He's miyuchet for brushing your teeth. So Rav Kalis had a theory. There were some Israeli poskim that read this and didn't know what the word brush. They just translated the word brush. He writes brush in English. Beis Reish Aleph Shin. He thinks that they thought it meant a toothbrush. So if you need a toothbrush that's miyuchet, so they understood it as you need a toothbrush that's miyuchet for Shabbos. But, we in English know that the word brush, there's a hat brush, there's a toothbrush, there's the hair brush. It says a brush that's miyuchet for this, not miyuchet for Shabbos. Miyuchet for this, what? Brushing your teeth. And if you read the Rav Moshe, you'll see clearly, if you want, you can grab one. It's Or Chaim Chelik Aleph, a Kuf Yud Beis. It's pashut when you read it, that he does not require a Shabbos toothbrush. It's fake news. Pashut fake news.
So what is he saying? Sorry, what is he saying? He's talking about a hairbrush or whatever.
He's talking about, Rav Moshe is talking about, he says you can't use toothpaste on Shabbos, but you could use the brush from Miyuchad Lezeh to brush your teeth without toothpaste. And he discusses, it's better not to wet it before because of schita. He doesn't say it's also. He says it's taif, it's better not to. Meaning it's a shayla of schita. Bad to me seems to hold it. But if you want to put the mouthwash or water in your mouth, no problem, according to Rav Moshe. and then brush. But he says you could even, only better not to wet it beforehand. But it's clear from the Ramesh, he doesn't say you need a Shabbos toothbrush. I knew this my whole life. I even listened to a shiur yesterday on this whatever to compare notes from, I'm not going to quote this person's name because he's a chashuv paisik, but I think he was wrong. He quoted Ramesh, and everybody quotes Ramesh as saying you need a Shabbos toothbrush. Once you reread it, it's pashut. That Ramesh doesn't say it. Now, why is it? Why is it that you would need a Shabbos scratcher and you would need perhaps a Shabbos hairbrush, but you wouldn't need a Shabbos toothbrush? And the answer, there's a chiluk. The scratcher, that action of scratching was a refuah action, primarily. That was a problem action, right? The act of scratch. So you want to do it in a Shabbos fashion, you need to make a change. Because the regular fashion is a issur Uvda Dchol. Whereas over here, anybody who's watching you sees you didn't put toothpaste on. If you didn't put toothpaste on the toothbrush, then it's not, you didn't do the issur action. We're saying the scratching with the toothpaste is fine. And for Moshe, even if you put on water, it's not issur. He says it's better not to, but even if you put on water from Moshe, it wouldn't be issur. So the problem is when you put in toothpaste, using your toothbrush is not a problem. And therefore there's no Uvda Dchol on your toothbrush, and therefore you do not need a special toothbrush. Donate that extra $3 a year to tzedakah. Fine. That's, I think, pretty clear. And then I saw others, everybody's quoting Ramosha. Fake news. Okay, fine. Weiter. Check it up, get a smile. Orach Chaim Aleph Kuf Yud Beis. And I couldn't figure out, you try to figure out where did they go wrong, and that's the place. There must be people that understood the word brush meant toothbrush, and you read the word toothbrush where it says brush into the Rebbeisha, and you see how they messed up. Fine. Weiter. So, the third type of Uvda Dchol is Tircha Yisera. Yeah? Now, an example of the poskim bring for Tircha Yisera is feeding animals. You're not allowed to go feed animals that aren't shaykh to you. Your own animals you have to feed. But animals which aren't yours, aren't your responsibility, there's issur of feeding them on Shabbos. But, wait a second. The poskim say, you're having guests, and you need to move the couch from this side of the room to that side of the room to fit the table. You're allowed to. You need to bring the stack of chairs from the machsan up to the fourth floor because you're having guests. Are you allowed on Shabbos? You're allowed to. What happened to Tircha Yisera? I can't feed some animals, but I could schlep chairs? So I saw a folk explain that the first two types of Tircha Yisera, it's a problem. Whether b'makom mitzvah, not b'makom mitzvah, I don't care. It's not allowed. The third one, the Tircha Yisera, is allowed b'makom mitzvah. Why? The whole vart of the issue is you're working hard for not Shabbos. You're working hard for mundane reasons. But over here, you're working hard for mitzvahs. Or Kal v'chomer, you're working hard for Shabbos. That's not Shabbos. It's not a not Shabbos dick. I don't want to use Shabbos dick again. But it's not a not Uvda Dchol dick. It's not an Uvda Dchol dick thing to work hard for Shabbos. That seems to be the aside. Okay. Let's go weiter. The Gemara says you're not allowed to exercise on Shabbos, to work up a sweat. You can't do that. Why not? So the Rambam explains it's because exercise is refuah. And refuah, unless you're chayla, refuah is not allowed on Shabbos. The Rashi explains the problem of Uvda Dchol. To go exercise and sweat up, that's a problem of Uvda Dchol. That's what Rashi says. We paskin like the Rambam. We paskin the problem with the exercising is that it is refuah.
Then you get into staying healthy as opposed to being sick.
Excellent. And we're going to go even a step further. So, very good. And I'm going to go even further than that. So, the question is, do healthy people exercise? Yeah, sure. Right? Yeah. Now, why do people exercise? So, some people exercise for health reasons. I got to keep my cholesterol, my sugar, my this, my weight, because of that. All sorts of health reasons why they exercise. Now, those people, it's debatable whether that's called mishum refuah. It's very similar with machlekes by vitamins, which is a very similar machlekes. When you're doing something to stay healthy, is that fit within the issur of refuah? There's what to debate. But there's also other reasons why people exercise, right? Some people exercise because they want to get muscles, or because they want to lose weight, not because it's healthy, because they want to look good. That's the main reason why they're exercising. And some people exercise because they want to, it's fun for them. Some people, it's chilled. Some people, it clears their mind. Some people, it's good for their mental well-being. All different types of reasons. Some people want to feel accomplished. Now, all these other reasons, which I think there's a significant percentage of people that are exercising for those reasons, there's a concept in refuah, something called the Michael Briam. Are you allowed to have chicken soup? You have a cold in Shabbos. Could you have a chicken soup? Yes, you could. Oh, but you're doing it because you're not feeling well? Yeah, but healthy people have chicken soup, so it's not considered refuah. Are you allowed to have prune juice on Shabbos? Yes, because your stomach is whatever? Yes, you're allowed to. Oh, why could some healthy people have prune juice?
I'll go with whiskey if you have a toothache.
Yes, you can have whiskey for your toothache, no problem. Because once again, whiskey's normal to drink. Therefore, let me ask you a question. Is it normal to exercise for all those other reasons? Because you want to look good? That's normal. So, exercise is the Michael Briam. And therefore, you can't tell me that exercise is an issue of refuah anymore. And Rashi says of the Dchol. We don't pass like Rashi. So far, where we are right now, exercising seems pretty mutter on Shabbos. Now, when you get to lifting weights, so push-ups and that type of stuff really should be fine. Let's start off with a non-intense way. Stretching and push-ups in a non-intense way seemingly is mutter. Now, lifting weights and really sweating up by lifting weights, that maybe somebody could claim that's b'chlal the tercha yisera. When you're going and lifting, we said tercha is lifting heavy things, whatever. Maybe that's included. But I'm not saying it's pashut, but that definitely an intense workout where you're sweating up. It's definitely not Shabbosdik. Whether it fits into tercha yisera, I don't know. It's definitely not Shabbosdik. We all know the famous Gemara, you're not allowed to run on Shabbos. Now, why are you not allowed to, except if you're running to shul, to learn, whatever. Now, why are you not allowed to run? What's the reason? Well, how did the Farshim explain? Because it looks like you're running to do business. Let me ask you a question. When was the last time let's say you see a guy in his shorts and a t-shirt? Running. Does anybody here look like, he probably has a meeting now? Does it look like to anybody that probably has a meeting now?
Because they're wearing smart clothes on Shabbos.
Yeah, so I don't think so. Now, if a guy's running in a suit, okay, he's late to his meeting. I hear that. But, on Shabbos?
He's wearing a suit.
Shabbos is wearing a suit.
Right, correct. No. So if you're running in your Shabbos clothes, I hear. But if you're running in your shorts and t-shirt, don't tell me that looks like you're running to your business meeting. I don't buy it. Now, are you going to really differentiate by how he's dressed? I mean, in Svar, yeah. I don't have a clear raya, but Svar is definitely there. But I don't have a clear raya on this. What do you think? I was once at a meal, and a guy, he was a little bit of a modern guy who was eating at the meal. And after the meal, he changed into his shorts and t-shirt to run home. He lived 3 miles away. He put on, after the Friday night meal, Leil Shabbos meal, he put on his shorts and t-shirt and sneakers to run home. Was there anything wrong with that? So we're all on the not Shabbosdik page. But is it of the Dchol? Can we get him for anything more than not Shabbosdik? I don't know. I don't think I could really get him. But and for this guy, I don't know how much this was a real Shabbos meal. I don't know how much of a Shabbos meal he was going to have at home, this guy. So, I don't know. Would you tell him not to come, or would you tell him to come? to have a real Shabbos meal, but he's going to do something not Shabbos-tic to get home. This gets a little bit in those Shiur shaylas. L'chayr, I would say he should come. Right? Interesting. Okay. Next. This is where we get into some more fun. Can one, swimming is a whole different slew of issues. Can one ride a bike on Shabbos? What do you think?
Yes.
Uvda Dchol? Okay. Even a scooter? Let's see. Rollerblades? Rollerblades, roller skates. Are those also? What are we passing? Guys, what are we passing? Rollerblades, roller skates? How does that fit in? So let's think about this for a second, guys. So, Zok the Ben Ish Chai says that riding your bike, what's the issur? You're going to flatten the ground? No, there's no real chashash that anybody's going to flatten the ground. Who flattens the ground when you ride a bike? Are you going to, is it Uvda Dchol? Where's the Uvda Dchol? I don't see any Uvda Dchol in riding a bike. Why is it Uvda Dchol? Which category does it fit into? It doesn't fit into any of the categories. Shemi Yatakin. So where's the Shemi Yatakin on riding a bike? We know by Shiur there's the issur Shemi Yatakin. You make them and fix it. We don't go and make our own gezeros. And therefore, Zok the Ben Ish Chai, around the year 1900, riding a bike is allowed on Shabbos. Okay. That is the Ben Ish Chai. Zok the Yaskil Avdi, in, fast forward 50 years or so, 1950 or so, next big Sephardi Rav, the Yaskil Avdi, he says that if the Ben Ish Chai knew how common it is for bikes to break and to need to be fixed, and he knew what type of bad things it would lead to, he would have never been matter.
Bad things, what bad things?
He's not mafarish. He said two different things. One is that it's going to break and you'll fix it, and it will lead to bad things. I don't know what he's referring to. He wasn't marach. Maybe you'll end up at a football game. Maybe. And then, so Rav Elyashiv, the Ben Ish Chai would have never been matter. And the Yaskil Avdi says further, I heard that the Ben Ish Chai took his heter back. That's what the Yaskil Avdi says. Zokt Rabbi Vadia. Vadia says, no, we don't say this type of, I heard the Ben Ish Chai took it back. The Ben Ish Chai wrote this in his last sefer that he wrote before he died. He wrote that it's mutter. So don't come with me with this, I heard he took it back. We go by what it says, not by what I heard. And what it says is, the Ben Ish Chai is matter. And if you're going to start with this business of maybe it's going to break, maybe I'm going to fix it, then there's a million things you can't use the chair, maybe it's going to break, maybe it's going to fix it. Ein Dvar Soif, you can't start making up your own things and maybe it's going to break, maybe you're going to fix it, and therefore riding a bike is Meikar Adin Mutter. However, Rav Elyashiv is Machmer, Rav Elyashiv Asers, I should say, so it's good to be Machmer. Rav Vadia says Meikar Adin. It's interesting. Rav Vadia usually doesn't pull those. But Rav Vadia says Meikar Adin it's mutter. But Rav Elyashiv is Machmer. It's good to be Machmer. But once again, I think it's a little uncharacteristic of Rav Vadia to.
Rav Elyashiv is Machmer.
Is Aser. He Asers. He actually says Aser Shemi Yatakin. Yeah. Yeah. So we'll get the Marshag. The Marshag says, so this is, once again, we're going back, maybe 1920s or so. The Marshag says, I don't see an issur of the Dchol. We don't make up gezeros to Shemi Yatakin. Riding a bike on Shabbos is mutter. That's what the Marshag says. Zok the Kaf HaChaim. He quotes the Ben Ish Chai who is matter. He says, some are machmer, unnamed at this point. Some are machmer. The minhag in Eretz Yisrael is we don't ride bikes on Shabbos. That's what the Kaf HaChaim says. It's fine. Yeah, interesting. Rav Elyashiv says, somebody just pointed out there's the Chiloni minhag of riding bikes to Yom Kippur because they don't ride cars on Shabbos, but they want to get around, so they ride bikes. I don't know what the halachic value we're going to give that, but there is such a kind of minhag, I guess. Okay, Rav Yosef said it's not Uvda Dchol. It doesn't fit into any of the categories of Uvda Dchol, so it's not Uvda Dchol to ride a bike. However, Zat Rav Yosef Shemi Yatakin, it might break, and you might come to fix it, and therefore you cannot ride a bike on Shabbos. It's part of the Gezerah of Shemi Yatakin. And by the way, Zat Rav Yosef, a scooter also, Shemi Yatakin, it's in the issur as well. You can't ride a scooter on Shabbos either. One of those little kid tricycles, that you could ride. Now, why could you ride the little kid tricycle? Zat Rav Yosef, it's the type of thing you ride around in the house. I think if it breaks, the kid's not fixing it. They're just getting up off it. That Shemi Yatakin will not apply to the tricycle. Okay, Zakt Reb Yaakov Kamenetsky, he says he has a little bit different of a kunz in the gather of the Dchol. He says anything that any action or any item that will produce more or do more than the standard way is Uvda Dchol. I mean, if there's a standard way of doing it or standard amount that the item produces, and this item produces lots of it, or this item does more of whatever it is that is standard, that is included in Uvda Dchol. Therefore, he says a bike is designed to go a long distance, longer than your general walk. And since it's designed to go a long distance, it's Bechal Uvda Dchol.
Who's this?
Reb Yaakov Kamenetsky. However, a little kid's tricycle, which isn't designed to go long distance, is not Bechal Uvda Dchol. The Demetziner Rav, he goes with this as well. And he says, a little bike that has training wheels, you're allowed to ride that on Shabbos. Because a little bike with training wheels is not designed to go far, and therefore it is not Uvda Dchol. Rav Shmuel Kamenetsky, he says that, listen, it's hard to pin down any of these issurim. It's really hard to say Shemi Yatakin, and it's really hard to say Uvda Dchol, even though his father said it Uvda Dchol. But it's really hard to say it's Uvda Dchol. It's really hard to say Shemi Yatakin. But the minhag is to issur them, so you don't use it. The minhag is to issur, but you don't need to stop the kids from riding them because we don't really have a good way to pin you down, anyways. Now, once again, that's the type of thing that I don't like reading. That type of thing. It's not really whatever, but the minhag is to issur.
Like the umbrella.
It's similar to the umbrella, but the umbrella there was a shkafic reason to issur the umbrella. Over here, it's just like kacha.
He said the same thing, but he said that we can't really pin it down. But he said, you see that older Rabbanim, they had a certain feeling that they just wanted to move away from it.
From bikes, you're talking about?
Like from bikes.
Yeah.
Even the ones that even said mutter, but they said in their kehillas that like, don't do it.
Okay, the Emek Halachas says that bikes are issur because it's Uvda Dchol. Once again, because they're meant to go a long distance. But he says, don't protest against the Mekilim because yesh amal l'smach. So it's issur, but no macha. Zak the Tzitz Eliezer, he's the hardliner for the day, which he's usually not such a hardliner, but over here he is a hardliner. Zak the Tzitz Eliezer, it's issur for three reasons. First of all, it's Uvda Dchol. Second of all, Shemi Yatakin. Third of all, one of the reasons that you're not allowed, everybody knows the reason you can't ride a horse on Shabbos, you might come break off a branch and hit the horse. There's another reason that you're not allowed to ride a horse on Shabbos. You might go out of the tchum. The same applies by a bike. You might go out of the tchum. And therefore, you cannot ride a bike on Shabbos. And any Rav who's matter it will need to do tshuva. And that's what the Tzitz Eliezer says. Now, the tchum, I don't know. I ride bikes all the time. I never went out of the tchum. I think a lot of the bikes are generally standard. Obviously, it depends where you live. But in most places, you ride a bike within a city, not to leave the city. So therefore, I don't think it's something that you really say you might leave the tchum. Once again, obviously, it depends where you live. But I think most places, definitely in city life, it's not your means of transportation for leaving the city, generally. So I don't necessarily hear that taina. Okay. So how do we conclude with the bikes? So with the bikes, we're going to conclude that for the Sfardim, Be'etzim it's mutter, but the Maisa shouldn't be used. For the Ashkenazim, we're going to say that it's issur. When it comes to little kids' tricycles and that type of stuff, that we're going to say it's mutter. What about the scooters? So, does Shemi Yatakin apply to the scooters? Definitely less than the bikes. There maybe is an element, but it's less than the bikes. So if the bikes is questionable if we can fit into Shemi Yatakin, scooters are less likely to fit into Shemi Yatakin. Then you might need to fix it as the bikes. What about that you might, it's something designed for long distance? Well, I think let's put the scooters into two categories. A nice, strong, big Schmack scooter. That's definitely capable of going a long distance. So that there's more reason to issur. But a little one of these schwacher ones, which is just for the kid to basically get from A to B, usually they're going to a distance where they could have walked. But it's just more convenient to use the scooter. That definitely for kids, it seems like there's definitely plenty of room to be makel. For adults, one shouldn't be makel. Once again, if you want a taina that's not Shabbosdik, because in taina it's not Shabbosdik, and don't let your kids use it. But I'm just discussing whether it fits into Uvda Dchol. Okay. Fine. Now, the Rivas Ephraim says something interesting. It says that somebody could ride a bike to be able to get himself to where he needs to hear Tkiyas Shofar. Let's say Tkiyas Shofar is 7 miles away. He's not walking. Jump on a bike, ride a bike. Once again, we're talking about Yontif. There's no... It's Yontif. Huh? What about Memphis? Yeah, so I'm saying, what are you asking exactly? He lives in Memphis. Fine, okay, fine. So...
Drive a long way.
Yeah, maybe it's a long way. I don't know the Memphis community. I don't know like the back of my hand. But the Maisa, the Rivers Ephraim, go drive a bike for 7 hours to hear Megillah, so to hear Tkiyas Shofar. Somebody asked of Herschel Schachter about he wanted to go to his nephew's bris, which was whatever miles away. He didn't have a place to stay for Yontif. It didn't work out with his family. Could he go by bike to make it to his nephew's bris? And Rav Herschel Schachter was mater him to go bike to be able to make it to his nephew's bris, whatever it was, Yontif, whatever it was. Now, what do we think about those? So, presumably the rationale is, remember we said it earlier from our Falk, what's the issur of, if we're going to say a bike is part of Uvda Dchol, which part of Uvda Dchol is it? It's part of Tirchei Yisera. It's that category. It's a Tirchei Yisera. It's lots of work to go so far and do so much, right? But we said Tirchei Yisera is mutter makom mitzvah. So if Tirchei Yisera, if you're going to hold that the issue of the biking is Tirchei Yisera, and Tirchei Yisera is makom mitzvah, so yeah, ride your bike for Tkiyas Shofar. Ride your bike to go to the bris. Park it a little bit far away so nobody asks any questions. But l'chayr would be allowed. And l'maisa, that is it for Uvda Dchol. I hope we have a little bit more clarity as to what fits and what doesn't fit within Uvda Dchol. Shkach for listening.